We will call our meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And to lead us today, and what will likely be her last time doing this because she's kind of a short timer, I'm going to ask Peggy Fisher to come lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. I guess you've got just a week now with school going, but you're here until July the 1st, right?
Probably September 1st, but I'll work till the
Okay.
end.
Well, just so you know, we're definitely going to miss you, and it's our pleasure to do this with you one last time. So you'll have to come back to another board meeting, visit us.
I will miss you all.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda, and I trust everybody's had an opportunity to look at it.
Mr. President, move to adopt the agenda as presented.
The motion, is there a second? Thank you, Reverend Williams. The motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? None seen. I think we are ready to vote. Thank you, Ms. Lister. Our next item on the agenda is school highlights. And Dr. Anderson is actually making her way down to help us recognize a very special student.
Actually, I didn't ask Mr. Robbins this, but Mr. Robbins, did you want to do this particular recognition? I know between your efforts as well as Ms. Morrissey, this young man who is impressive, has been featured by the New York Times and has really been a name that I think many of us know of, even if you don't know us. So his excellence has been noted by many. So, Mr. Robbins, would you like to say any remarks before I turn it over to Ms. Morrissey to add to that?
Well, just that we're happy to have the young man here. It also gives us a chance to recognize one of our longtime partners, and that's Westar Energy, for some of the opportunities that they afford our students. And Mr. Triggs had an opportunity to take advantage of that. So we have with him Mike Colburn and Tom, and I forgot Tom's last name, but we'll let Conradi. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Came along with Nathan to talk about Nathan's progress and participation in the internship that was offered him. So we're happy to have them here today and look forward to it.
And so with that, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Morrissey to talk a little bit about our student, and then we'll turn it over to our Westar family and our student both. So first, let's start with Mrs. Morrissey to do the introduction.
Good evening, Dr. Anderson, Mr. Woods, members of the board, and leadership team as well as guests. It is an honor to be here tonight for two of our finest students. So Nate, why don't you bring everybody up here with you, if you would, while I talk about you a little bit. I first met Nate Triggs twofold. One is he is one of the students that the New York Times has been following throughout the year. And the second time that I really actually got to know Nate, I participated on a field trip with our Avid students who were going to Rockhurst University and visiting, and I was there for 8 years, so it was kind of a visit down memory lane for me as well as meeting our students. And when they were interviewing the students afterwards, a couple things caught my eye. One is, for those that don't know it, I grew up a cowgirl. I worn the boots, and it was kind of a surprise being in an urban setting to look over and go, this child doesn't look like most of the students that I have every day. So I could appreciate that. But what was really fun is as they were interviewing Nate, he was incredibly articulate, extremely knowledgeable. It spoke to his excellence and his focus, what Avid has done for him, as well as how he has made and taken advantage of the things that have been offered to him, because he has a twofold. He has the ability to go a traditional college route. He has the ability to take what he loves about the blue collar I grew up with and he's been involved with, and to actually get involved in auto and welding, all those things that sometimes we don't value in our society, the incredible talent that it takes to do blue collar work as well as white collar work. And this is one of those young men that can do both, and having grown up that way, I greatly appreciate it. He is a wonderful young man. He is going to be a success at whatever he does, and I think you're going to hear much the same from the people at Westar. So Nate, congratulations on this. I know it's been a great opportunity, thanks to Westar and all of our connections, Mr. Woods, to be able to have our students participate with you as a partner. It's a wonderful opportunity, so thank you. Congratulations.
And we're going to turn it over to Nate, first the Westar family, but we have two certificates for you. First, to Westar, because without you, all of our young people who have had this leadership opportunity, they wouldn't have that. So we thank you for being here, but for the continued investment. And then Nate, we also want to acknowledge you for your excellence within the school, at Westar, and beyond. So congratulations, and continue keeping up the excellent work. And with this, we're going to turn it over. Did you all want to speak about Nate and what he does, or any of those things first? And then we'll turn it over to Nate. Generally, board members have questions, so be prepared for that. Would you like to say any words, gentlemen, before he takes the mic?
Hi, I'm Tom Conradi. I'm a manager in the Fleet and Facilities Department. Had the opportunity to interview Nate and then work with him here the past few months. And for me, it's been kind of amazing to see the talent that's come to us the past 3 years at Westar. We've been very impressed with the gentlemen we've been able to work with. Really feel like it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the student. It's certainly a win for Westar. And I think it's kind of a win for USD 501 to see these guys come out. And believe it or not, I think our management group as well as our mechanics learn as much from them as they do from us. It's really neat to see a young person come into their environment like Nate has and be successful, come to work every day, have a good attitude. All the people he works with says that he picks up on things very quickly and is a hard worker. And that's all we can ask for, is somebody to come in with an attitude like that. So we appreciate the opportunity to work with you all and to give Nate this opportunity, to give Westar this opportunity. So thank you.
All right, Nate, you want to take the microphone and see if there are any questions, and if there are any comments that you want to make about what you do at Westar, for folks who don't know what happens there from your perspective, and then we'll open it up to questions.
I just want to start off by just appreciating the opportunity. It's really been great. I've learned a lot. The guys are great there at Westar. I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity to start off my life, to really figure out what I want to do. So if you guys have questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Dr. Mickelson.
So what did you do?
What do I do?
What did you do at Westar?
Okay, at Westar, well, I'm in the fleet department, and it's just a group of mechanics that keep up the maintenance and repairs on all of the equipment that Westar uses. So I'll shadow the mechanics, and sometimes they'll just send me off to do the job, and we go anywhere from Shawnee, Kansas to Seneca, and kind of get a feel for all the different facilities. And it's a pretty good experience.
So probably a good question just to add to that for, maybe for Mr. Coburn, so board members get an idea what it means when you say you work in fleet and you work with vehicles and all the various facilities. How many vehicles is that? What kind of vehicles? What kind of specialized knowledge does it take to work on an all-tech bucket truck versus,
You on the mic, or can everybody hear me?
you gotta use the microphone, sorry.
So currently, we operate about 1,500 pieces of utility equipment at Westar. 1,000 of those are on-road vehicles driven by our employees. Another 500 are pieces of equipment that can either get pulled behind the truck or we use in our light construction. Our work group deals with anything from the inception of a vehicle to the disposal. So if you can imagine anything from purchasing and procuring the truck or car, all the way to the disposal of that unit and the life cycle that it goes through. We have on property anything from a Toyota Prius to a 100-foot bucket truck and anything in between. That's kind of the gist of our fleet. We have 22 service centers we operate out of, and we run about 25 mechanics out of those service centers to maintain all that equipment.
Dr. McCarthy.
Question for Nate. So Nate, we like to brag about our diversity in our district, and it sounds like you're a part of that at Topeka High too. Could you tell us just a little bit about your Topeka High experience and specifically how you think Abbott helped you?
Well, I wasn't sure what school I was going to go to starting out as a freshman, but since my mom lived in town, I ended up going to Topeka High, and I wasn't, real sure about it because I didn't have much in common with most people, but all the different kinds of people that are in that school, no one's really, left out. So I found my place pretty easily with some people, and Avid, being in it since 7th grade, that was kind of my family already. So I definitely had my spot there, and it's helped me grow as a student. Avid has. Keeping up on things, staying organized, making sure I'm doing everything I need to succeed. And it's definitely been life-changing being in that program.
Any favorite teachers or classes to share?
Definitely Avid. Mr. Wrigley, well, all my Avid teachers I've had 3 different ones due to some moving and changing jobs. But Miss Sonic was my freshman year Avid teacher, and she started me out and got me going good. And Mr. Wrigley, he was a big part of my life here this last 2 years, helping me decide what I wanted to do and helping me pursue it.
Thank you. We're very proud of you, and we really look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you.
Ms. Kirk.
What are you planning to do next?
I am in the process of applying to Washburn Tech, and I plan to study heavy diesel equipment. And we'll go from there on a job.
See what happens from there? And see whether you can get back with the folks over there, right? Heavy diesel, when you started saying what you were doing, I thought, oh my gosh, they have to fix those things that go up and the things that pull it. I'm just sitting here knowing nothing about how to fix anything, particularly anything in the automobile or trucks or anything. So I'm admire anybody who understands how all that stuff works. But when you think about all the things all the kinds of equipment that you're working with, your knowledge has to be very, very broad. And I know a diesel mechanic is something that people like to have around when they have big equipment. So it sounds wonderful for you, and I'm appreciative that you were here to share that with us, and thank you.
It's a well-compensated job.
Everything I can't do seems to be well paid.
Patrick. Sir.
Mr. Woods mentioned that was going to be my question. I know when we were screening for the proper candidate to send to Westar for consideration for the internship, one of the questions that I asked Nathan was what he was doing now as far as work was concerned. and Nathan shared that he was doing different types of work, primarily on the farm, to earn some extra money. So as Mr. Woods mentioned, this internship is well compensated, so I followed up with Nathan a few weeks later and asked him if he had gotten his first check. And just as he's doing now, first thing he did was smile. And he nodded his head yes. And you want to tell the board, Nathan, what your dad told you once you brought home your first check?
I don't recall it, sorry.
You told me that your dad said, son, they're paying you too much.
Dr. Mickelson, you had okay, excellent. The only question I have, so you answered the question really about what you wanted to do how were you going to use this experience and build off of it and figure out what you wanted to do later. The question I want you to answer now is, when you think over the course of your internship and all the fun stuff you've got to work on, from bucket trucks to I don't know how many pounds they weigh, tons or whatever. What? Really big vehicles that crush. So, what is your favorite thing that you've worked on so far? What's been the most odd and unique that you never thought you'd be doing at an electric company? That's one of the beauties about our company. We have so many jobs, and so many people don't understand that you don't just work, with wires if you work in an electric company. But so what's the most unique, odd thing you thought you'd never be doing, and what was your favorite?
I'd say odd. I didn't realize all the hydraulics that were involved in some of the booms. So for odd, I'd say that. Favorite?
Now, so the boom, just for the heads that's the thing that goes up, yeah.
And for favorite, it's really hard to say. I learn off of everything, so anything that we're working on that'll teach me something is valuable.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, do you have are there any, or mom or dad here anymore?
I heard about this
To free our Westar family up and Nathan up, can we take the picture now? That way, with whether he and the Westar family that's here with him can be freed up for this evening. We're going to take a quick picture, so why don't you come out in the middle? All right, at this time, we're going to proceed on with our proclamation, and then I believe for this evening, those are all the highlights. Because of the weather, the other highlights will be pushed to the next board meeting. And so impressive that our dedicated speech pathologists are here this evening. Mrs. Peggy Fisher, can you come up and we have two things. One, the proclamation. So we're going to read the proclamation. And then additionally, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of take it from here and talk about better speech and language learning. Why don't we just read the first sentence?
We're going to read the first sentence of the proclamation. All right. The proclamation of the Topeka United School District, USD number 501, National Better Speech and Hearing Month, May 2017. I'd like for the speech pathologists and paraprofessionals to come forward, please. The last time that we were here, we showed you the breadth of what we do. Otherwise, stand across in front of their class. We talked about all of the evaluations we do, the 1,500 kids that we have on our caseload, all the different buildings we go to. We just kind of talked about the numbers and the statistics last time. But this year, we've been seen as putting spots before your eyes all year long. So we thought we would just continue on with that theme. This year, we're going to show you the depth of the work that we do. So we have a slideshow, and Elizabeth McKessick, who will be my successor, by the way, is going to read the slides, and each person has a paddle. They'll raise their paddle or their spot before your eyes to indicate how many caseloads have a student with that disability on the caseload, or that challenge on that caseload. And you'll begin to see that some challenges are more prevalent than others, but we go a long way beyond just speech sounds. Elizabeth?
Well, we're gonna bring up our slideshow. And it's our first time to do a PowerPoint like this, so we'll see how this turns out. If Jim can find it. There it is. Come this way if you're out in his way. Can you see it?
I can.
Okay. It's taking longer to arrange it for Can we just click on each one of the boxes as they speak? Because we can see the first half would be great. All right. Nice idea. Go right on it. Go ahead, Liz.
Okay, here we go. Speech and language therapy goes well beyond correcting speech sounds. The staff of the TPS Speech and Language Department empowers students to learn and live by overcoming communication challenges such as phonological processing, articulation, auditory processing, traumatic brain injury, dysphagia, fluency or stuttering, voice disorders, including cleft palate, autism, neurological disorders, syndromes such as Down syndrome, word finding, vocabulary strategies, developmental delays, sentence complexity, conceptual development, reading comprehension, answering questions, direction following, social skills, transitions, AAC, study skills. We just wanted to thank you for celebrating with us the success of the students in the Topeka Public Schools and along with the staff in the Speech and Language Department. Happy Better Speech and Hearing Month.
All righty. That was good. So I think at this point, it looks like we are prepared to dispose of our business by consent. There are no comments tonight.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the Board President or Superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contract for and on behalf of the Board of Education.
Motion, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Anything on the consent calendar? If not, then I think we are prepared to vote. Okay, excellent. Our next item on the agenda, the first item under the heading of Superintendent's Report, is a test score report from Mr. Aaron Kipp. I saw Mr. Kipp earlier.
So as Mr. Kidd prepares to present, we're pleased to share that our scores are preliminarily in. Because they are preliminary scores, we cannot, at this time, we are not sharing specific data until we have those final numbers. However, this is the earliest in which scores have arrived, so we're excited about that. Schools are taking a look at those. And in the meantime, we've been able to at least begin to look at gains and where we are overall as it relates to gains. We are excited to give some reports in this regard. Mr. Kipp, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Good evening. We are going to dive into some exciting results that normally don't even come until the fall. So I do give kudos to KSDE for releasing the preliminary results pretty quickly. First thing we're going to dive into is the ELA scores, the English Language Arts. What we did was kind of divide this into categories of elementary, middle, and high. And the blue bar is last year. Orange bar is preliminarily this year. So as you can see at the elementary level, we are projecting about a 4% increase. Middle school, about a little over 2, almost 3% increase. And I believe high school looks like maybe 9%, it's hard to see. 9% increase, thank you.
So really quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to.
Yeah.
When I look at this, so that is an increase at every single level.
Yes, every single level. And that's something that we did look at every single grade level in every single content area. There's really just two, math and reading.
And ELA, yeah.
And every single grade level had a bump of some kind, some significantly. And so this is the first time, I've been with District 17 years, I've never seen
So
this.
that was going to be my next question, because I have not either. I've been on the board for 10 years now, and I was going to ask, when have we ever seen an increase at every single level?
Not to my knowledge, in the last 17 years. And of course, the assessments have changed over the years. You know, back in the old AYP days, there was a different metric, and now that we have 3 years of stable, kind of Common Core related assessments, then now we can actually start making backwards comparisons.
So Mr. Kipp was so excited, he came running down to share with me that news, that the increases. As we go to the very next slide.
This is kind of maybe a little difficult to read, but this is just another way to look at the data in terms of trajectory. This is the same ELA graph we looked at before, but you can kind of see some of the acceleration. The top green line is the elementary movement. The middle blue one is high school, and I believe the bottom one is middle school. So as you can see, it's just another way to look at the data in terms of growth and the trajectory that we're taking in terms of ELA. And we'll move on to math. There's no more ELA questions. Very similar trends. Elementary, the math went up, pretty good. Same way, middle had a slight bump, about 2%. And high school, 6? Yeah, okay, thank you. So, I mean, this really is incredible. Again, these are preliminary, but things are looking relatively stable. These came out, I believe, early last week, and they're already pretty stable. The KU CETE has not changed any of the individual scores. Now, of course, this summer, the KSDE board will bless these and present the final data to the board, but so far it's looking really good. And again, this is another trajectory growth path that you can see. In fact, it almost looks like high school's accelerating at the greatest rate. And this was a group last year that was really struggling. When I say high school, we're just talking 10th grade. That's really the only assessed grade for math and ELA. So I think it's a great sign that we're seeing movement in that direction, especially from a group or an area that is really struggling the year before. So based on these numbers and data, we can kind of come to some preliminary conclusions. As Mr. Woods mentioned, all grade levels improved. That's 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 10th, really, all the way up. They had bumps. 10th grade, as I mentioned before, had the largest increase. In some cases, I believe Topeka West is projected to be above state levels in ELA, actually. The third bullet point, we really worked hard to try to predict how the kids would do. So the folks in my department developed a predictive model based on our local Scantron assessment. And the winter Scantron correlated really well with how kids did in the spring. So we built a model, shared that with all the schools, categorized kids maybe on the bubble, where they were on Scantron, and targeted interventions were implemented. Maybe Dr. Anderson might want to speak more to that.
And I'll let you go ahead and finish to the
Sure.
end and then answer you all's questions. And what I'd love to do is to have principals who had some of the largest gains, because this is what we did with principals. And we asked them, what did you do? And what were the consistent things across the district? So they'll be coming at a future board meeting just to talk a little bit about, just a handful of those folks, what some common themes are, because they were very common, almost like the same principal was saying the same thing no matter whether they were at elementary or high school. And so that helped define some approaches. So I'll let you go ahead and finish the rest of those bullets.
The fourth bullet, this year we really tried to encourage schools to use the interim assessments, and these are developed by KU and CETE as great practice tools, mini tests, to get them prepared for the actual state assessments. And we did find that those schools that chose to do the interims had generally better scores in the state assessments. So it's a really good practice for them. The fifth bullet point, the TPS growth, I'm projecting it's going to be growing at a higher rate than the state. In some areas, we actually had increases where the state is projected to have decreases. So I think that's a real encouraging sign in terms of our efforts. Again, that last bullet just kind of elaborates on the growth features. Elementary and secondary had huge growth. I mean, we did have growth in middle. It wasn't as great, but certainly any growth is good, I think, especially with an assessment that gets more difficult as you go up in the higher grades.
And so with that, we'll turn it over to questions from you, but we want to share that some of the items that we're focusing on is not necessarily the test or the textbook, but the standard. So even when the interim assessments came out, we really looked at those interim assessments as what are the standards that they're really targeting, and how do we make sure we incorporate that so that we can really focus on a variety of tools to review whether what we taught for that week was actually learned. And so at the end of the week, some level of assessing in some kind of way. Some of the other trends, time and collaboration. The principal from McEachran that really really predicted that they would have some significant increases in both areas. He shared at our principals meeting, and if I misquote, let me know, or attribute it to the wrong principal, let me know. He shared at our principals meeting that this year he felt like there was a little bit more autonomy for teachers to be able to use a variety of resources and not necessarily one particular text or page, but really explore things based on standard. So that was certainly something that we will continue to build on. Those were some of the items, and the other item is just the rigor and really not holding kids back, but helping them have the opportunity to go as far as they can. And part of that was through interventions and workstations and items like that. Again, you'll hear more from the principals at a future meeting as well, but those are some key items. I think data accessibility was huge for us this year. As you know, you approved the data warehouse, thank you. People had at their fingertips the ability to look at scores, attendance. And then we don't want to discount all of the things we're doing with trauma, social services, and just investing in relationships and supporting our free lunch students in particular with having greater access to curriculum kinds of things. So all of those things combined, we feel like helped us make a difference. If we continue to grow on this trajectory, really we anticipate the achievement gap closing at some fairly fast rates if this trend continues in this fashion.
And
Are there questions?
I will add one additional item. Before, if a school increased in their ELA or math, we didn't really have the ability to drill down to specific standards or targets that they were strong at or weak on. Now, this year, we've identified, and KU has produced kind of target area performance. So how did McEachran's third grade do on numbers and operations? How did they do on data analysis? So we can see down to almost the granular level the standards that maybe need a little bit more reteaching, or the standards that they really have a celebration for really hitting.
Ms. Kirk?
The assessment, you just talked about that, interim assessments. Are those done at the end of units, at the end of like what we used to call formative assessments? Is that what we're really talking about here?
It's sort of between a summative assessment and a formative assessment. They can be done, some schools like Topeka West, who had great success, I think they did 3 or 4 interims just as a kind of a check along. They can be done throughout the entire year. So what they did was kind of strategically place them at certain points of the year, assess, learning on those standards, and then, reteach it again if they need to in intervention groups. And then they pretty much did it all the way up until the actual assessment. And there's some great tools out there that will, they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They can grab certain standards, certain, reading passages already prefabricated for them. And so I know the schools that did use those really found them real useful and helpful.
So, looking at this, there's some principals that have had great success and some not so much. Is there a plan for the principals that had great success to perhaps share with other principals what they did differently?
All right, we've had a staff development immediately after the scores, within 2 days. A couple of people from assessment, myself, Ms. Wallace. First of all, we celebrated the success as a collective body, but then we learned from those other principals, and they shared some specific things that they did. And then we looked at commonalities. What was common between everybody that improved? So for example, the interim assessments, anyone that took the interim assessments improved. I mean, what were things that were common overall? Collaboration as it relates to speaking in PLCs about data and assessment in that regard, that was an area of strength across the board, and principals made time for that. So they've already shared. We have another date planned in which we are spending half a day to go deeper into this data, because then the scores, we will have had more time to make sure we know the preliminary scores, how that they're closer to a final stage. So we'll be doing that again on June 1st and spending more time with those principals then. And so that next first meeting in June, you'll be hearing from them in terms of those items. The nice thing is the things that we put in place this year, the data consults, talking with folks weekly, just having that common PLC time, things that we've asked for everyone to do, those that did it with fidelity improved. And that's one of the things that we kind of talked about. Here are the things that we've talked about from August to now, and anyone that followed that with fidelity, they improved in both content areas in most cases, if not all cases. So it's been, we are excited at the results. The other thing we did differently, and I know it's not directly tied to numbers, but it really is tied to more culture, climate. We had a chart in which we really mapped out how do we get excited about assessments. Some kids have anxiety about assessments, and some teachers do too. And so we had academic rallies, pep rallies, fun activities. You know, at one school, they had students lined up on the day of the test in a red carpet, and everyday kids came and slapped hands. But every school did something. So we shared, here's what this looks like in my past districts, and here's what this could look like. This should be a fun time. So we called it the Celebration of Learning Assessment, as opposed to the CAP test. So we celebrated learning all while we were taking the assessment. So that was another piece for us that really helped change the climate around what we're doing and help kids understand this is really a celebration of what you've been doing all year. Any other questions for Mr. Kipp?
We're talking about the achievement gap. We'll have, I don't know that you have enough data now to take a look at, to get some idea of what that looks like at this point.
I'd probably feel more comfortable once the final comes out, that level of specificity, then I'd feel more informed in terms of if we are closing that gap, yeah. But that would be something to definitely
We
bring
certainly
back
have
to
to
the
look
board.
at that, yeah. And I guess the other thing, when do we expect that's going to come out? They got this one out already, they should be coming pretty soon.
Late summer, am I right? Certainly, so certainly by August, we'll be giving another report to you, because that gives us time. We are excited that that all of the high schools improved, including Hope Street and Cap City, in both content areas. So we were excited to see that movement as well.
And the one thing we haven't talked about is science. They're going to be doing the cut scores this summer for science, so we don't know the results of those yet. They should be available this fall.
So I guess the one thing I would add, probably not a question, a comment, and I have to say it in a more subdued manner than I normally would with this kind of good news, since it's preliminary. And I'll wait for the final report to come out in late summer. But I think this is a testament really to a lot of the hard work that you've seen go on in the classrooms, the hard work that our teachers have had to do, the hard work and the smart work that our administration has done in putting in place our program and carrying it out, and the good, innovative, visionary work that you've seen our board do in trying to put us in a position to make these kind of gains, while the rest of the world around us seems to be losing its head, and not all the world. I'm referring to just a few folks. To me, if you juxtapose the way we run our business and the way many other entities are running their business, and you look at the results, there's a lot to be proud of. So, I mean, hats off really to our staff, to our teachers, to our administrators, for really digging in and doing what's right for kids, regardless of what was happening around them. So, hats off to our board members too. I'm glad I get to serve with you all. Be made to look good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kipp. And we are, again, excited about those results. We look forward to continued gains in the future. Moving from there, the next item is the human sexuality update. Given the weather this evening, we wanted to make sure to give that update when we felt like we would have more people here. Therefore, we'd like to push that back to another date, perhaps the next meeting. Those are all of the report items. If I could give a very, very brief update as well, wanted to share that today is the day that we're recruiting from Puerto Rico for our dual language program. So we're excited to see what those results are. That's the first time that we're getting a chance to, the first time that we are exploring that opportunity. So we'll be giving you an update on that at the next board meeting as well.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so our next discussion item is lunch prices, lunch fee changes. And I see both Mr. Mackey and Ms. Yankee. It looks like Ms. Yankee is standing, so she's going to be approaching the podium. Talk to us about this.
Good evening. I think I only see you guys in this room once a year to present the paid lunch equity request that I have. And what that is it's the 10-cent increase that we need to do every year to stay, to eliminate the difference between the reimbursement rate and the paid rate. I was looking back over my notes from last year at this time, and they keep raising that bar. So I'm requesting that we raise lunch price is 10 cents to $2.70. Last year, the price point, we were only 8 cents away from it, but now this year, it's at $2.86. So I'll probably be back again next year, asking the same thing.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Yonke? So this is the routine thing that we have to do every year, and whether we like it or not, it's required in order to keep pace with the federal reimbursement rate.
That is exactly right. If we were at $2.86, which is what I just said, we wouldn't have to raise prices. But every year they keep raising that, so.
And we don't raise it more than we need to.
Correct.
That's
We
our family.
we cannot raise it more than 10 cents a year.
So,
And this would affect 4,800 students. It only affects our full pay students. This is also the time that we normally go over adult prices. And the recommendation this year is $2.10 for breakfast and $3.60 for lunch. For adults,
$2.10.
for breakfast,
$3.60.
for lunch. And that's a recommendation from the KSTE.
Sure. Okay. I pay that lunch fee actually
Yes.
when I go and eat, so it's still cheaper than McDonald's. So,
We appreciate that.
Healthier.
yeah, much healthier than me. You know, school lunches. So I go eat school lunches probably once a month now, and it is nothing like when I was in school. There is always some fresh green vegetable there. There's always a carrot. The kids go crazy over these sliced peaches and pears and things like that.
They also like radishes, have you heard?
No. Okay, haven't heard that. But they usually get some fresh fruit in the afternoon too.
Correct. It's at different times at different schools.
Yeah, it's amazing. I look at this food and I think, man, when I was in school, it was like these processed formed, not real meat, the formed stuff that was like in the shape to look like ribs, but it really wasn't.
Well, we still have some of that. It is my goal, this is kind of off topic, but to get away and to have more natural foods that are just simply the food. We have raw chicken now, we have raw pork now. Of course, it gets cooked properly before it goes to your children, but it's less processed and better for them. I would get rid of the chicken nuggets if I could. I think they would line up outside my door to
Probably have a meeting.
a meeting with me. Yeah.
Okay.
One final question. I don't know if this is fake news or not, but recently I saw a headline where it looked like the standards that had been established by previous presidential administration were being relaxed. Is that actual?
Yes. I kind of hesitate to agree with the relaxed, but what it is that we were scheduled under that act to lower our sodium even more than what we have over the course of this time since 2010. And unless you use everything fresh, it would be really hard to meet that sodium level requirement. So they left that the same. So we don't have to meet that anymore. We can keep it at the level that we are now. But we can't like lower the sodium anymore. And we can't serve higher sodium foods just because. We still have to stay in that preset range. And then there is a whole grain requirement that has been relaxed. And I think mainly that's because there's so many kids that we just cannot get them to eat whole wheat products. They just haven't developed that flavor yet unless they've grown up with it.
Which I find remarkable because who would rather like Wonder Bread over?
When I go to the store and I see something, I know I'm always embarrassed if I have Wonder Bread in my cart, but my husband won't eat anything else. He won't even eat the whole grain. I see somebody I know and I have bread in the cart, I run.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Yonke? So this is a discussion item now. At our next meeting, this will return and be an action item.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Mr. Mankey is going to discuss with us student instruction fees, and then we're going to talk about musical instrument fees.
Musical instruments, so you bet. Jim's going to pull up the matrix. We're recommending maintaining the student computer use and instructional materials rental fees remaining the same for FY18 as they were FY17, so we're proposing no changes. We had a 5% or a $5 increase in that computer usage fee last year, and I really feel like our fees are supporting our current instructional buy and spend, so I would recommend not changing these. And if you remember, we 2 years ago we changed it. We had a 3-tier fee structure. We flattened that out to the 2. And the minimum fee actually is in the elementary pre-K and grades K through 5. Those fees are still at the 13-14 rates. So, but I would recommend not making any changes for FY18.
Okay.
All right, and I think Dr. Murray's got a you want me to do that a little bit, and then he wants me to talk a little bit, and then he'll answer any questions. So on our music pool rental, if you're aware, I'm sure you are, that we rent music instruments primarily to our elementary students. We have a fairly large pool of about 700 instruments over there. So we rent about 700 a year. Current fee's $25 a year. And that was $25 when I started with the district in 2001. So that rental fee is used primarily to support refreshing those instruments and keeping them in repair. So 700 instruments, $25 a year, raises about $17,500. We'd probably spend more than that on maintenance of instruments, to be honest with you. And I've discussed this before. We have kept that artificially low just to maximize participation with our students. That we don't want to ever turn a student away and tell them that we don't have an instrument for them. And we work really hard at doing that. So that $25 rate, we're asking if you would please approve a $5 increase just to help us stay up with inflation on the maintenance of the instruments. New instruments, again, haven't went down in price since 2001, and I know Dr. Murray has done, since he's been here, done an excellent job of trying to upgrade. I know he and Dean have worked together trying to upgrade the level of instruments. I was probably terrible at buying the cheapest thing out there, I know. And he's tried to upgrade the quality of our instrument pool as well. So that is why we're proposing that $5 increase from 25 to 30. Again, I think if you went to, gosh, who's still open? Manning or any of the other music stores, I think you pay that a month, probably. I remember when Ethan was in school and renting that trumpet, which I don't think he ever played. So it was much more expensive than that. So, anybody have any questions about the music instrument rental pool and how that works and what all types of instruments we?
Ms. Kirk, I think.
Yeah, first thing is, this is a rental program. We are paying for this for kids who are free and reduced lunch, or does everybody have to pay it?
So we ask everybody to pay who can, and we do have a
Oh,
scholarship.
sorry, you said one.
We ask everybody who can pay to participate to spend the $25. We also have a scholarship program. This year we scholarshiped over 73 students who could not afford to pay the $25 fee, and so we got that through the Topeka Schools Foundation. So no student was turned away who was in good standing with the school as far as they had not destroyed equipment. We found a way to get them an instrument.
Yeah, I just often wonder though, if every child who would like to participate gets to participate, if mom said we can't afford it, so they don't even let you know, so I'm just trying to make sure.
We do make every effort to communicate to the parents through the school and the teachers that if they cannot, then we find a way to get it for them. Students who can't afford to purchase a book, which is $10, we have extras around. Students have left them behind, or people donate them, or we have extras that we just make sure that students don't have to do that. And we're thankful we have the instrument pool, because without it, there really would not be an instrumental music program. It's very expensive to maintain. It's very expensive for students to be able to participate in. The goal is every child can have the opportunity to play, to see if this is something for them in band or strings.
Well, I appreciate your hard work to try to make it available to children. I think this board has been very, very consistent in its support of the arts. You know, the younger that we can start this, and the more children we can encourage, we think the better off our children are. So anything you can do and we can do to try to make that more available to our kids. I think, you know, make sure you talk to us about it, because we surely feel strongly about it.
Appreciate it.
I would fully back what Mrs. Kirk said, and I think that's a value of everybody on the board. I really appreciate you trying to upgrade the quality of the instruments, because it's always been our belief that if a student is going to put in all the time and effort to learn to play, they deserve the best instrument that they can have. With that said, it's also really important that instruments be well cared for. And I'm just curious how it's approached if it ends up being the case that a student has multiple injuries to an instrument. I overheard a student once at a school laughing that he was on his third cello for that year. And it gave me pause and made me wonder how you handle that situation and kind of our policy about it.
And I can speak to the 2 years that I've been here, and I don't know what occurred before that. I think there was some lax enforcement. I immediately, when I took the position, let the teachers know that they're held accountable for the instruments that are rendered out to their students. Obviously, if the student does the damage on them, it's not their fault, but they need to document that, and we have forms that we developed so that you can take it, the teacher signs it, the principal signs it, it goes to the parent to sign, and then we work out some way of getting the funds back if we can't fix it, or the cost of fix. Or we work out payment plans. We've done that over the last couple of years for parents who couldn't afford but knew that they wanted to be held accountable for that instrument damage. They would pay on installments, and in those cases, we would provide another instrument for them to keep at school so that they could still be participating during the day. They're just going to take home an instrument they get rented until they finish paying off any damage they may have done.
Do you feel like that's improved the condition?
I think it has.
Instruments. This happened many years ago, I would say, as a caveat, that it wasn't a recent event.
Sure, and also getting a little better quality instrument means the instrument can take a little more normal wear and tear that a child might do. Because if you go too cheap, then they bend and break pretty easily.
How many donations of instruments do you get per year, would you say?
We probably get 7 or 8, and most of them are anonymous. Some of them are not in the best shape, so we're able to take what we can from it and salvage, maybe a mouthpiece, maybe we take the bridge off an instrument, and we're able to peg. We're able to then use that as we repair instruments in shop.
Mm-hmm. And are this mostly band instruments, or are they also string?
Band and strings, both.
Yeah. I've always wondered if we might do a better job at kind of soliciting from the community donations. I think it's very common for people to have an instrument that's no longer being used at home, and I've always thought that there's probably a better way to access those. Yeah, thank you for your work. I really appreciate it, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks, we appreciate your support.
Any further questions or comments? Dr. McCarthy just reminded me that definitely are tons of instruments I know sitting in people's houses that aren't being used. Okay, so we look forward to these 3 fee items appearing as action items on our next board agenda. With that, we are through the end of our discussion items. The only thing we have left is board member comments. And I think today, just to break with convention, since very few people are here to see it, we are going to start with Dr. Morrison and work our way down the other side of the table.
I'm so prepared. I'll try to, but I've been to a lot of places and seen a lot of things. I got back from Parsons and Coffeyville, where the leadership sent me this time, and I have three things that I saw that could help in things that we're trying to do. One, and maybe this is not something that we'd be interested in, but it was very, very interesting. It was a program that was called Age to Age, and what they did is they placed a kindergarten class in a retirement home. And so there were a lot of grandpas and grandmas, and they read together with the kids, and they exercised together with the kids. And so it was very successful. Nine years they've been doing it. Now, I asked them about studies about reading and things like that, and they had not done that, so that was a little bit perplexing. Another one in Coffeyville was they have a children's learning center that the community supports, and it enables all children to have pre-K, basically, in Coffeyville, if you want it. And even some younger, even in diapers, some children. You would ask. It was grant funded. Yeah, that's, and they didn't tell me which grants or what grants. And finally, in Parsons, they had clinics in the schools, medical clinics, run by providers outside the school system. So it wasn't the school system. And they had used federal funds to build on to the high school. And there was another one in an elementary school. So there were two in those schools. It was totally separate from the school system, so providers billed separately. I thought it was a very good model. And I know we're trying to implement something like that, so that Parsons, Kansas is maybe a place that we could go. And I don't know how they got the federal money to build all these clinics, but that's what they said. And then the other place I've been was the ICC committee, and Randy Watson happened to be there and talking. And one statistic he gave on one slide said that by 2020, 70% of kids will need some more education outside of high school. So I think we're going in the right direction with that. The other thing, he handed out this little brochure about vision, and maybe some of you have gotten it, but I didn't have it. So I think Kansas State Department of Education would be happy to give that to us. And
keep the voice brief. I appreciate this time of year. I definitely appreciate the information we're getting. Just reiterating that, as Dr. Morrison said, we are heading in the right direction as far as our student achievement. Definitely, and today, Dr. Anderson, you were particularly inspiring as we celebrated the public street students, and just always appreciate that time. It just reminds us every time why we're here and what kind of impact the decisions we make on a regular basis have on our community, on our students, on our families. So I'm enjoying that, and I look like I'll be spending the next a few hours with you all in the next few days.
going backwards, and Ms. Johnson stole my thunder with the Oak Street. Mr. Drinkard, would you raise your hand? This is Mr. Drinkard. He's a high school teacher at Topeka High School. He teaches history. I don't know if he's surpassed Ms. Lucero as my son's favorite teacher, but he's close. And my son is not always academically motivated, so somebody who can get him to enjoy history, I think he's a gifted teacher. And just want to brag on him for a moment. So Chance the Rapper had a concert last weekend. My daughter graduated from college last Saturday, and Chance was in Kansas City last Saturday night, and my son wanted to go, and I wanted him to go to his sister's college graduation, and he wanted to go to the concert. And there was a discussion about where he should go and his priorities, and he said, this was several months ago, and he said, what if I get an adult to go? And I said, who would that be? The one to go see Chance the Rapper. And he says, Mr. Drinker will go. So, holds him in high esteem, and I just appreciate him and other teachers that go to great lengths to make education fun and educational at the same time. So, thanks for all you do.
You know, he could have called me. I'm like, Chance the Rapper. When?
He had to go to graduation.
Highlight of my day was Hope Street in Los Elementary with their sped 3K promotion. That was exciting.
Well, I'm just shocked about this Chance concert. Because I have two granddaughters, one from Little Rock who came up here to go to that concert, and the one went here to go. They didn't even know until the one from Little Rock showed up here. And I've never heard of the person, so I don't, I'm now I showed up at this meeting. I'm more with it than I thought I was.
So I will tell you, I first heard Chance the Rapper on NPR. So he was on, he was either Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me or Prairie Home Companion, and was absolutely destroying all the trivia, but he did it in the most creative, awesome rap that you can imagine. So he would freestyle, they give him questions and he'd freestyle the answers in these creative ways that strung together all the facts about these issues, and it showed you that he knew exactly what the answer was to those questions. So, pretty cool dude. Okay, with that, I think we are ready for a motion to adjourn. Dr. McCarthy, the second, Reverend Williams. Motion and second, any discussion on the motion? None seen. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.